Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be pulling the motor deck off our BX tractor. Show you the steps we go through for that. I'm sure it's the same for multiple generations of BX, but this one's a BX2380. So we'll get started here and show you what we do. Okay, one of the first things you need to do is, either before we shut it off or start it back up, change your height setting, move it down to 0, and that allows the lift arms to fully lower the deck down so that there's no tension on them when you go to disconnect the pins. Next we'll come in here, disconnect the pin on that side, same thing on the other side. Okay, then we'll disconnect the front. Okay, the only thing that's left is to disconnect the power takeoff. I'm going to start the tractor up and raise the lift arms out of the way first, and then we'll disconnect the power takeoff. See with the slide collar type connection here, so okay. One thing Kubota does is, if you notice on these adjustment wheels, there's a hole that's perpendicular to the others. You can raise this deck up and turn those wheels sideways to make it easier to slide out. I typically don't do that just because it slides easy on this concrete floor, but that is something you can do. Okay, that's all there is to it. I'll go through now and we'll look at what we do. I usually pick it up with the front loader on my other tractor, just so I can get the grass cleaned out from underneath. Obviously clean this part off, get it greased well, and then store it for winter. Got the mower deck here hanging from the other Kubota. I just use a chain or a strap and go around the hooks. You can kind of see here, the hook's on the front of the deck. And then I just go to my shackles that I have put on the bucket. But I just pick it up here. It's an easy height to work on. I'll pull the blades off, and as you can see, there's some grass stuck in here. We'll get that all scraped out, get the blade sharpened, and then I usually spray some sort of oil, WD-40 or something, on the underside of the deck just to keep any rust from forming. I normally like to have these grass clippings removed before now. This is later than I like, but we'll get them out here and get everything cleaned up. I didn't film the whole thing of scraping that. It would get pretty boring after the first minute or so, but this is pretty much a finished product. It's not perfect by any means, but all the loose, large chunks that hold moisture are gone, and I tried to get as much as possible. But you can see I did scrape some paint off also. Some of it seemed like it was already loose, but I try to avoid scratching any of the paint if I can. There's a small amount of surface rust, mainly where those large clumps were holding moisture against the deck, but we'll spray it down now good, and that should keep it good this winter. I forgot to mention one of the things that I do before I spray with oil is just take some cheap paint, and anywhere there is bare metal, whether it's something that's freshly scraped off or another place, I just take some old paint, try and get a coat of paint on it, and then once that's good and dry, then we'll spray the whole underside with oil. Not sure what you guys do with your deck over the winter, but if you do something different or have a better idea or a faster way to do this, leave a comment below. I'm always willing to try something new, especially if it saves time or works better. I don't get everything with the paint, and that's part of the reason I come back and spray some kind of oil on it. It's just cheap insurance. I think it goes a long way to really protect the metal. Especially around some of these welds on this shrouding here. It's hard to get in there and really scrape out all the grass. So decent coat of paint and then the oil on there, I think is about as good as you can do. All right, you can see my 3 blades here. Not perfect, not that bad though. There's not too many chips in them. There's a couple small dings right along here. I ran these most of the summer. I can't remember when I put them on exactly, but they're rounded over. They're definitely not sharp, but like I said, there's no major dings in them, so we'll get a file and get those cleaned up. I use a hand file as opposed to an angle grinder just because I think it does a little nicer job. Definitely takes longer, but I think it does a nicer job, so we'll get started on that. I won't bore you guys with doing this, but I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up or not, but you can see the metal. I don't know if it'll focus, but you can see in the metal where you filed, where you haven't. You still see some dull spots that haven't cut down to yet. But that's all I do. I just keep going until you get a decent edge on it. Then I do lightly. I flip this over and lightly just flatten the bottom out. But it just takes a little time. It does a very nice job. All right, that's what it looks like when it's finished. I normally just use a cheap WD-40 or some sort of cheap spray spray oil, spray lubricant, and I was of course out of everything, so had a couple cans of fluid film. That's overkill for this, but it'll work. So I got the underside scraped off, painted, and now a little coating of fluid film. So I'll lay it down here and then grease everything, and it'll be ready to sit for the winter.